Good morning, YouTube family. Good afternoon and good evening. I'm not sure where you are, so just happy that you're here with me. This is our Happy Crappy Hour, so welcome to Happy Crappy Hour, our live stream. And the point of Happy Crappy Hour is for us to catch up on our week and also to learn from one another, our experiences through the week, right? What happened in our happies and what happened that were crappies, that were not great this week. So let's start with my happies and crappies this week. So this week for me, a happy, I'm just going to talk about my happies and crappies until more of you guys are able to get on. So I'm giving you a few moments here. Hey, good morning, Jihad. Good to see you. Ah, yay. I'm so glad to see you. So I want to hear about your happies and your crappies this week as well. But let me see. There's a crappy this week. Maybe it was that I didn't get as much done this week as I wanted to, but it was still good because, I'm going to give myself some grace. Uh, that's something that I see a lot of victims of narcissism don't do is give ourselves grace, right? We don't forgive ourselves. We expect so much from ourselves and we're very critical of our own selves and especially about being a victim, actually, especially about falling for what the narcissist had done. I've seen this in comments again and again where people beat themselves up because they feel foolish, right? They feel foolish that they were taken in by the narcissist. They feel foolish that they wasted so much time with the narcissist. They feel foolish because they didn't listen to their friends or family who were trying to warn them about the narcissist, right? But here's the deal. It's fine to feel foolish for a little while. And then you recognize that you need to move on. You need to forgive yourself. And part of healing, the biggest part of healing, I think, comes from forgiving yourself. And that may not come right away. That might come halfway through your healing journey. But know that that is one of your goals. You cannot keep beating yourself up and becoming so critical of yourself in everyday life. It starts to become a part of you every day. You start criticizing yourself and you don't feel like you're moving fast enough or growing fast enough or healing fast enough. And that becomes more of a deterrent to your healing. So that was part of my crappy this week was, I was starting to beat myself up a little bit about just not getting the things done that I wanted to get done, accomplishing the things I wanted to accomplish. Oh, for some reason I got disconnected there, you guys. Let me make sure. Oh, I'm not on my Wi-Fi, so let me do that. Hopefully the Wi-Fi is connecting. Okay, you guys, I'm sorry about that if you got disconnected by um, so yeah, that was my crappy, learning, but a good came out of it, which is I have to learn to be softer on myself. I need to learn to forgive and go at my own pace. And it's okay if I don't get all the things done I want to get done. Um, so I'm hoping that you guys learn from that as well. Jihad says, my happy is that my ex-wife, let me see what you got here, still going through the divorce. Just gave birth a couple of days ago, and now she's going to start being very busy with the baby and slowly leaving us alone. Wow. Is this your baby then, Jihad? I'm sorry to hear that, it's harder when you're sharing children with a narcissist because you have to keep up this relationship, if you will, contact. The contact has to be very minimal, of course, but I'm glad that you said that she's going to be very busy with the baby and will leave you alone. It's true. Oh my gosh, that makes me think about when we are upset about the narcissist having new supply. It's actually a blessing to us because now they're distracted. Oh, sorry, you guys. This plane is really close, so I don't know if you can hear me. Wow. Oh, it's a helicopter. Okay. So, yeah, if you are jealous that they have a new supply or have something good going on in their life, say their business is taking off, say they've made new friends or they're getting married, all these things that seem really good in their life. And we're looking over there and we're thinking, it's, so jealous that we don't get to benefit from these good things. You know what? It's a blessing because they are distracted by those good things. So they take their eyes off of us. And actually, that leads right into our topic today, because the topic I have today is the dangerous side of narcissists and why we don't see it. And part of the dangerous side of the narcissist is when they are targeting us, right? Only the target of the narcissist recognizes and sees how dangerous the narcissist is. Everybody else who's just a distraction to the narcissist or who's in their periphery don't see the danger that's happening to the target. I mean, they're witnessing it. They're watching the target go through, say, going to the hospital, being abused. They're watching the target in a horrible, nasty, ugly divorce case where the narcissist is completely unreasonable and so vicious. They're watching the target go through a lawsuit, that's completely doesn't even make sense, right? Just not rational and being dragged through the mud. They're watching the target go through all of this with the narcissist. But for some reason, they don't see that the narcissist is as horrible as the target is experiencing. And I'll tell you why about that later on. I want to catch up on some of these comments here. John, good morning. I'm so glad you're here. And New Earth for Peace, hello, my immortal beloveds. I love it. Good to see you here. Jihad says she is supposed to do Skype calls with the kids daily, and she has been missing calls since she gave birth. No, it's not my baby. Wow. Okay. And you guys are still going through the divorce. I see. Yeah. I'm glad. I'm so glad to hear that. Jihad says, yes, big distraction for her, so she won't have to annoy us. Krin, good morning. Good to see you. So you guys, so that was I went from my crappy, which was, I got to learn to be more gracious, or give myself more grace, forgive myself more. Don't be so hard on myself. And I want you to do the same. Don't be so hard on yourself. Don't beat yourself up for ending up where you did. Yeah, we got here, but now at least we know we want to get out of here. We want to improve. We want to be better. Okay. So, and in order to do that, it's not going to help if we beat ourselves up, right? It's not going to help if we keep criticizing ourselves and not forgiving ourselves. So to get out of the down, the ditch that we're in, we have to forgive ourselves, and that helps to strengthen us, give us more power to get out of this ditch. So, okay, you guys, let me see. Oh, that's what I was like, I lost my train of thought. I wanted to tell you what my happy was. My happy was I got to reconnect with some old friends. We've been friends, oh my gosh, let me think, 7-8 years now. There's a group of us, and we connected, I don't know, about 8 years ago. And there's something really special about our group, because we are a group of people who have hope. Yeah, we know there are horrible things in this world, and we know that people can be really ugly, and we've all had different walks. I mean, very, very different walks of life in this group, which is really cool, because it's really neat when you come from different places, from different origins, different childhoods, different upbringings, broken households, intact households, Christian backgrounds, non-Christian backgrounds, just different parts of the country, different parts of the world. So it's kind of neat when we come together, because we have hope in common. That is, it's so strong. And we have hope in good things for humanity, good things for our country, good things for this world. It's what we're hoping for, right? So I'm so glad. And we may not have the exact same political views, by the way. We don't have the exact same even morals, faith backgrounds. We don't at all, in fact. But we have hope in common. We want better things for humanity. We want better things for people. We want better things for our neighbors and for ourselves and for our children, right? Anyway, that's my happy, is that we got to reconnect, and it just, makes me realize it's so important to see people as people and value them for who they are, and the fact that they're just trying to make it through this life too. I've often said that life is hard enough. It really is. Life is hard enough to wish horrible things on other people. We don't even need to do that because horrible things will happen. And, just automatically in life, we will all experience trauma. We will all experience pain. We'll all experience, some sort of devastation in our life. The difference is, how people recover from it. It may not even look like they went through any trauma. It may not even look like they went through any pain. They just seem so happy and hopeful and great all the time. Nothing bad must have ever happened to them, is what we think. But it's so far from the truth. The also difference is that even though each of us in our little group had gone through different kinds of pains, different kinds of trauma, different kinds of, we've been devalued, by the way, at some point by different people, we still see the blessings in our life. Like there's one or two, or probably more than that, right? But we know, even in the depths and the pain that we're in, that there are blessings there also. And that helps us to come out and gives us hope, right? All right, you guys, so that was my happy. Let me see what you guys are saying here to catch up. Okay, I guess I'm caught up. So yeah, all right, let's jump into the topic today, which is the dangerous side of narcissists and why you don't see it. And the reason I'm bringing this up, I'll give you a very specific example right now. So I was hanging out with my group of friends last night, and one of them brought up that they know what I do. They're familiar that I'm doing this channel, so they wanted to talk about narcissists. And they were asking me, they were telling me that they think there's a narcissist that they know, a person that they've known for a while. And they're watching this, okay, it's a woman. They're watching her behavior, and they're just dumbfounded by it. They just cannot believe what she's doing. Okay, here's the story. So she was, I guess, down on her luck. And it seems like narcissists are often down on their luck. So they need a hand up, right? And fortunately enough for them, there seems to be somebody with a heart who wants to help out those who are down on their luck. So there's this guy who, I guess he's elderly. He's pretty old. He offers to help this narcissistic woman out by giving her a place to live, to stay, right? So he has, what I understand is I'm not quite sure if it's connected to his house, but he has a part of his property where she has been staying. He's allowed her to stay there and fix it up. Maybe it's like a mother-in-law suite, that type of thing, right? That's on the property, but hasn't been used because he doesn't have a mother-in-law. He doesn't have other family that could use it. So she moves into this place on his property, and she starts fixing it up or whatever. But then she starts renting it out, if you will, to people who could not afford to rent anything. But they start destroying the place. They start making a mess of his property, and he's not comfortable with them being on his property. So he kicks them out. Well, in kicking them out, he also kicked out the narcissist. So what does the narcissist do? Okay, first of all, this is his property. If he doesn't like what's happening on his property, he can tell them, hey, this cannot happen anymore. You need to change this behavior, or you need to start paying rent. It's his property. If he requires this, then they need to start paying rent. But instead, what happens is they don't listen to him. They go against what he wants to do on his property. They're destroying his property, so he kicks them out. He has to kick all of them out, right? The vagrants and the narcissist. Well, the narcissist leaves, but now she is telling my friends that she wants to borrow money from them, thousands of dollars from them, to hire a lawyer to sue the man who was helping her, to sue the man who gave her a place to stay, to sue the man who even offered her to use his place to make money by renting it out to, decent people who can take care of the property and would be respectful of his property. But instead, she messes it up, She probably has some friends who are destructive as well, like her, and they go in there and they're destructive with his property. Anyway, so that's what's going on. She's destroying his property, or has been, and she made some improvements to it, but then she invites these people in and they mess it up. So now she wants to sue him for what? I'm not even quite sure. But here's the thing. It doesn't make any sense. Narcissists do not make sense. They feel entitled, and their entitlement makes absolutely no sense to anybody. So my friends are looking at this, two of my friends, and they both know, they each know her, and they're talking about this, and they're thinking, okay, it doesn't make sense to them why she's suing him. And they're asking me, is this part of narcissism? Is this part of the narcissistic abuse or characteristic? And I'm like, yes, absolutely, because it just doesn't make sense. They're very irrational and they're very entitled. They feel entitled to everything that you have. And if you don't use it to their benefit, or if they don't have access to your things, they will go after you. And first of all, with manipulation, then guilt, then possibly with the law. They will try to sue you and take it from you. I've known narcissists in my own life who've done this. All they do is sue people because they feel entitled to whatever somebody else has. And it makes no sense to me. Like, how are you even able to sue these people? How is there a lawyer who's willing to take your case? Because it doesn't sound to me that you even have a case. But when millions of dollars are involved, or hundreds of thousands of dollars are involved, they will find a lawyer who will try anything they can to take it from the person who earned it. Anyway, you guys, so here's the thing. You can see right now that the guy who's being sued can tell, okay, this woman is very dangerous to him. She in his late years, in his twilight years, she's going to try to take everything away from him. She's going to take his property away from him. And he invited her in. He invited her in to help her because she had no place to go. Her family was done with her. They didn't want anything to do with her anymore, is my guess, because my friends were telling me how she would exploit that and tell them how horribly abused she was, by them, or she experiences trauma from her family. So that's another characteristic of narcissism. They blame their family for how they were abused, they were traumatized, and then come to find out, you meet their family, and their family is like very normal, and their family is very loving, and their family is very giving. But because the narcissist is so entitled, the family cannot give the narcissist everything the narcissist wants. And when the family doesn't give everything, and what I mean by everything is everything, like access to your bank account, free range in your home. They can come and go as they want. They can destroy your home if they want. They don't have to clean up after themselves. They expect you to take care of them. They expect you to pay the bills, the utilities, the food bill, the insurance, the mortgage, and they expect to be able to live there for free. So because our family's not willing to do this, they're abusing her. According to her perspective, right? They're abandoning her. They've left her, they're not loving towards her. That's how narcissists see everybody. Anyway, back to the dangerous side, you guys. Yes, it gets to the point of murder because, if you know me at all, I watch crime shows. And when I watch these crime shows, it's just sickening and sad to me that these narcissists will take lives. And I know people are like, well, they're not narcissists, they're psychopaths. Well, guess what, you guys? To get to becoming a psychopath, you first have to be a narcissist. So in order to be a psychopath or a sociopath, you first are a narcissist. So you're already on your way. It's that mentality of entitlement that you feel even entitled to somebody else's life. You're not even just entitled to their things. Now you're entitled to their life. And that's the crossover to the psychopath. And we might think like, oh, a psychopath is somebody who murders. By the way, a psychopath is not just someone who murders. A psychopath will destroy people financially. And, think of the Bernie Madoff, whole thing where he swindled millions of dollars, life savings from his own friends, friends, of multiple years. He didn't care. He didn't care that he was spending their money for his lifestyle, and knowing that when he spends their money, they're not going to have it anymore. Now they're going to be destitute. Now they're going to lose their life savings, all the years that they worked so hard to build up their money. And now they're going to live off of their family. Like some of them have had, millionaires had to move in. And these aren't, what I know, there's a chasm in the world, in the country, where we think, oh, millionaires don't deserve any emotional support or sympathy. And that's not true, by the way, you guys. A lot of millionaires get there because they sacrifice so much. They sacrifice all of this time. They work 80, 90 hours a week. I have met people like this. They have worked, they built from the ground up. They came from absolutely nothing. Their parents were on welfare. So they were raised on welfare, but they worked hard and they built their own business, and they're upstanding people, they're moral. And now they have children. They're so happy that they built up all this wealth they can pass on to their children, so their children don't have to be raised on welfare, and their grandchildren could possibly go to college, So this is what Bernie Madoff did. He just took their money, and now these people ended up living with their children. They had to move in with their own kids because he just destroyed them financially. So the whole point of this is that we think dangerous narcissists are not narcissists because they become psychopaths, and psychopaths are only murderers. No, psychopaths can also be white collar destroyers, right? Just like this woman who's trying to sue this elderly man of all his worldly possessions. He has what he has. It's not like the most of every, he has a property that he's been living on and has been paying off, and she wants to take it away from him because she's unsatisfied that he has now kicked her off his property. Like somehow she's still entitled to it just because he invited her to his property once. Now she feels entitled to all of his property, and she will steal it from him if I cannot even believe that she went to my friends to ask for a few $1,000s to hire a lawyer to sue this man. So, okay, you guys. So when we think about a dangerous narcissist, we will even witness what's going on, So my friends are watching this woman go after this guy financially, and they know it's destructive. They know that she could be so dangerous as to take away everything he has, but it doesn't register to them. One of them was asking me, so wait, let me think. They asked me several questions, so let me think about which question I want to answer first. They were asking me, is this, does this make her a narcissist? Like, is this what narcissism is? And they said, but she seems so normal in these other times when we've known her, these past, years ago, we've known her, and she seemed to be, somewhat normal. Excuse me, I'm going to have a drink of water. Oh my gosh. And I said, okay, here's the thing. You guys are rationalizing. Actually, it's just one of them. One of them was rationalizing, and that's what we do. We don't see the danger because we rationalize their irrational behavior by associating them back to times when they were normal, right? Times when they behaved somewhat likable, times when they were pleasant, times when we connected with them emotionally or socially or even physically, right? We've connected with them. So we want to believe that this person is somewhat normal because they walk amongst us, talk amongst us, they work with us, they, I don't know, they're in our neighborhood, they're in the schools with our kids, they're in the same social circles with us. They go out and have beers with us once in a while. And we're like, well, they're pretty normal, right? They seem to like good things and hate bad things, and they're for the good guy and they're against the bad guy. They seem normal, right? But here's the deal. Until you are in their crosshairs, until you are being targeted by them, you will keep rationalizing their horrible, destructive, abusive behavior. Oh my gosh, I think there's a street cleaner going up my street. It's kind of getting loud. So I'm sorry if you don't hear me. I hope you do hear me. I guess I can tell if you guys are telling me this. Oh yeah, someone brought up Chris Watts. Yeah, you know what? They seem so normal, and yet, and even those who are not targeted by, who live with them, and they are targeted by the narcissist. Sometimes the target, and you probably recognize this too, and I have too. I've been a target of narcissists, and I didn't recognize it at the time. I didn't know they were targeting me. I just assumed, I rationalized it away until it becomes so obvious that they're trying to destroy you. You rationalize it away. You just make excuses for them. So that's why we don't see it, because it doesn't make sense. We're trying to make sense of something that just doesn't make sense. It's illogical. It doesn't follow a logical pattern. It doesn't follow human, sympathetic, humane type of thinking, right? So we want to cover it somehow with logic. So here we go. So one of those friends was saying, well, maybe she was, she something must have happened to her as a child. Something, so again, rationalizing, right? Making excuses. Something must have happened to her that she's behaving this way, that suddenly it's coming out like this now. But guess what? She's always been like this. So the other friend is realizing this now. So the second friend is saying, no, this is her. So this friend is starting to see it. This is how she has been. This is not just suddenly it's coming out. It's just that we haven't seen this, or she hasn't had the opportunity, or this has always been a part of her. It's just that she's getting worse. Like it's actually coming out more and more. And that's what happens with narcissists, by the way, as they get older. It gets to the point where they are not as charming as they used to be. They're not as able to be in control of their behavior and social skills, right? Their social skills start to go away because they're less patient. Suddenly now they're more entitled and they want what they want right now. Holy cow, this street cleaner is just like staying on my street for some reason. It's not like my street is that big, but it does not want to go away. I don't know what they're doing out there. So I hope you're able to hear me. So you guys, the dangerous side of narcissists, and I hate to go into this part too, is that they become murderous criminals. It's just horrible. I was watching another murder show yesterday, or several, of course, because I binge watch these things. There was this guy, and it's called Behind Mansion Walls. And the things people will do for money, by the way, you guys, it's not money that's the root of all evil. It's the love of money that's the root of all evil. Money itself is not evil. Being able to use money for good is not evil, right? When you build up your wealth to a point where you can help your family members, that's not evil, right? You use money to do that. That's not evil. What's evil is the love of money. So that's the root of all evil, is the love of money. So when you love money so much that you destroy people, that you will kill people on your way to accessing money, that's evil. What Bernie Madoff did was evil. Destroying people's livelihood so that they are destitute, that's evil. And in order for him to live in luxury, right? That's the love of money. So he wasn't out to help people. He was out to help himself. And by the way, that's the difference between a narcissist and other people. Narcissists are out to help themselves. So even narcissists who seem like, but they've started up these foundations, they're helping people, they're volunteering, at the soup kitchen or whatever, it has a benefit to them. They want to be seen. They want to be seen helping people so that others will admire them, right? Or it could be part of their mask as well. They want to convince people that they're good. So it's not really to help other people. They want to be seen. They're getting something out of it. It doesn't fulfill them to actually help people. It fulfills them to be seen helping people. Anyway, yeah, you guys. So dangerous narcissists. I was watching this crime video yesterday where this guy, he makes his millions from, okay, I don't know what it was, but it's some kind of insulation for oil pipes that would catch on fire. So he came up with this insulation that keeps it from catching on fire. Makes a ton of money. I think he's out in Great Britain. He's British. So he buys this beautiful manor, this beautiful, almost like a castle. It's just got, I don't remember how many rooms, but it's just gorgeous, right? This estate. He's got, I think, 3 horses, 4 dogs, his teenage daughter, his wife, and he loves to go shooting, right? He loves to shoot birds. And they said he'll spend, $7,000-8,000 on a weekend of shooting. And here he was doing this stuff. He was at a barbecue. So at the very end, he's at this barbecue in the neighborhood or from one of his neighbors. And they did some shooting, some skeet shooting. He seemed happy. Everything was great. Everybody likes him. His wife is happy, and, she's pleasant. Everybody likes her. The daughter is popular. Everybody likes her. She just seems like a good, solid family, right? 2 days later, the house burns down, and after days of going through the rubble, they find all the horses had been shot. All the dogs had been shot. They find the remains of the bodies, like just barely there, just incinerated, right? Because they were in the house. It was horrible. And through dental records and DNA, they identify it was him, his wife, and his teenage daughter. His wife and his teenage daughter had been shot, and he probably died of smoke inhalation. At first, they were like, oh my gosh, who did this? Who could have done this? Come to find out, it was him. They had security cameras that showed him going from the barn to the house, carrying his shotgun with a silencer and a flashlight attached to it. It was that night. Anyway, here's the thing. He lost all his money. And because he sold his business, and for a year, he had been going into debt. So he was several $100,000, pounds, whatever, in debt. And he was getting notifications because he wasn't paying his bills, and he wasn't paying his taxes either. Oh, that's what, he was hundreds of thousands of dollars behind in taxes, and he hadn't been paying any of his bills. And he got a notification that the not lenders, but whoever is going to come and repossess the house that he loves so much. They gave him the image of being so rich. So what does he do? Instead of telling his wife and his daughter, we lost our fortune and we're going to have to start over, and, we've had a good run, we had several years of being in the company of really rich and established and beautiful luxury. And now we can start over because it's okay, because we're a family and we can make this work. No, instead of doing that, he ends up killing his wife, whom he loved, supposedly, right? Killing his daughter, whom he loved, supposedly, right? All the horses, how do you kill these animals that did nothing but serve you and love you? And the dogs. And he burned everything down. And the announcer, in these shows, they know too. They're like, narcissism. This is narcissistic. This is a narcissist. And they will say, when they lose things, not only do they just lose it, they feel like, if I can't have it, no one else can have it. And that is the danger in a narcissistic mind, in a narcissist's mind. If I can't have it, nobody can have it. And there goes their ability to empathize, to sympathize, to even understand another person's pain. They can, on the outside, look like, oh, what a good dad this guy was. What a good husband he was, that he provided this luxury for his wife and his daughter. There was no sign or discussion about him cheating on anybody. He seemed to be a pretty upright person, seemed to be okay. Somebody else down here had mentioned Chris Watts. Everybody had thought, pretty normal guy. Seemed, of course, at the end he was having an affair, and that just like blew his mind. And I have videos on him if you want to look it up, about Chris Watts. I think I did 3 or 4 videos on him. And that was the beginning actually of this channel, because I saw this guy and I was like, what the heck? I see this narcissistic trait coming out of him just from the interviews. This is before they identified him as guilty, right? And we didn't know yet that he was guilty. It's when I made my first video on Chris Watts, because I was like, something here just tells me like he is detached the way a narcissist is detached. As a husband, right, looking for his wife and supposedly upset that his wife and children are missing. And you could tell he was lying, covering up, hiding, but what he had done to his children is unfathomable. You cannot even understand how in the world someone could do what he did to his children, who did nothing but worship him. He was their hero. I think one of them even made a song about him being, the oldest one, saying singing in the car about him being her hero. And for him to look her in the face and see her and destroy her, it is just insanity, right? This is what narcissists will do. And we don't see it. We don't see it coming, because everything else we rationalize, like all the little red flags, we rationalize away. We're like, well, they were just having a bad day. Or they made some kind of weird comment. They'll even say comments like, they might say comments like, oh, if my family was murdered, I would have all this freedom. And you're like, what? You may be having a beer with somebody and someone says that, like, oh man, if somebody had just came into my house to burglarize it and just, destroyed my whole family, that would solve so many of my problems. And you're thinking, okay, they watch too many crime shows, or they they're drunk, they don't know what they're saying, they're just feeling stressed, right? We make up excuses for them, and we won't see that, no, this is a huge red flag. Anyway, so you guys, it led me to another question that my friends were asking me about this narcissist. Another question they asked me was, well, did something happen in her life that caused her to be like this, right? The woman who's suing the elderly guy, she's trying to sue him. I hope she doesn't get any money from any lawyer. She wants to pay a lawyer. I guess that's how you get a lawyer to do this, is you pay the lawyer to take up these cases, and they're willing to be paid until the money runs out, and then they'll drop your case. But so she asked them if she can borrow money from them to sue this elderly man who invited her to his home to live, because she had no place to live, not like in his actual residence, but on another property, on another structure, house, mother-in-law suite that was on his property. So once he kicked her out, she wants to sue him. And they're asking me, well, is it, something must have happened, right, in her past that makes her like this now. And so that's the other topic I wanted to say is, are narcissists made, or is there something just a part of them that they're born this way? And I think that psychologists are torn by this, right? The exact same, I listen to multiple psychologists, and I've read their books as well. And they're kind of torn. They don't agree on this, but even within one psychologist, they will believe that, yes, a narcissist is made, but also a narcissist is born. But then some of them will say, no, narcissist is not born, they're made. Well, here's my question. If they're not born this way, but psychopaths are born this way, and all psychopaths are narcissists, doesn't that mean that you have to kind of be born a narcissist before you get to that psychopathic, level? So I think that a narcissist can be born this way and can be made. And there is a difference, though, between a made narcissist and a born narcissist. What I'm what I'm noticing, and as I watch these things, is as my friends were asking me, did something, something traumatizing must have happened to her, right? For her to behave this way, to be so destructive towards this elderly man who did nothing but try to help her. And now suddenly she sees him as taking advantage of her financially, right? Because he wants her to pay rent. How dare he want her to pay rent, right? So here's my answer to that. I don't think anything more traumatic happened to her than the average person, by the way. The trauma that we attribute or make excuses for narcissists is not as traumatic as we might think it is. By the way, I have known so many people who've gone through extreme trauma. I'm talking about a friend of mine had escaped Cambodia during the Khmer Rouge. If you guys don't know what that is, it's when what's his name? Something Pot. I can't remember his name now. Oh, anyway, Pol Pot, I think, is the name of the dictator that took over Cambodia and killed like everybody, just everybody, starved them, killed them. It's called The Killing Fields. If you want to watch a movie on that, she lived through that. She and her mother escaped, and her sister escaped Cambodia. Their family members were destroyed. She was just a kid at the time. I think she might have been 9 or 10, and she remembers bombs blowing up behind her and destroying people. So she had seen, bodies. She escapes that. Guess what? She didn't become a narcissist because of that trauma. She didn't become entitled and thought like, well, the world owes me now. She didn't come here and decide that she should be worshipped. She didn't come here and decide that she deserves so much extra attention and so much extra just because she went through that horrible beginning. I also know I have friends who were adopted and were neglected from the time they were babies, right? And they feel like, wow, I don't know why I can't, I feel this stumbling block when I want to connect with people. I have, because psychologists have decided, and maybe there's some truth to this, but I think there's a limit to it as well, where they say, if a baby is not held within the first, year of their life or first 6 months of their life, 9 months, whatever it is, then they will have attachment issues, right? Well, guess what? A lot of people have attachment issues, even though they were held by their parents, even though they were nurtured, they still have attachment issues. So for people to say, well, a narcissist went through trauma, wasn't held as a baby, wasn't given as much attention as they wanted. And that's the key, by the way, it's want, not need. Narcissists are insatiable. You cannot give them everything that they want. It's impossible. That's why you can't. It's impossible to give them everything they want. In order to give them everything they want, you would have to give them your entire self. Yeah. And everybody around them has to give them their entire self and have no boundaries with them whatsoever. Allow them to use, abuse, take, destroy whatever they want. And if you don't, then to the narcissist, that feels like trauma to them. So no, I don't believe that trauma itself creates a narcissist. All right. I think that it was already in the narcissist. Whatever they were feeling, whatever their destructive behavior was already in them, because they just don't change. We know that they don't change. You try to give them therapy, you try to help them, you try to get them to see the other person's perspective. They just don't get it. It's a complete disconnect for them. So I will go into the made or not made, trauma, all that in the future. But here's some good news for you guys. Actually, it's kind of bad news first. If you've been raised by a narcissist, that's one area where I feel like, okay, people might think that a narcissist was made because they were raised by a narcissist, they were groomed, they were trained by a narcissist, right? And it may not even be raised by one. Maybe you were married to one for 20, 30 years, right? You tend to take on the attributes of that person. You tend to become more critical, more skeptical, maybe verbally abusive yourself, right? Because they were verbally abusive, you started taking that trait on. And then when you're no longer with them, when you move out of the house, right? If you were raised by one, you move out of the house, you may take those traits with you. If you were married to one or lived with one for decades and you leave that relationship or they abandon you, now you start catching yourself becoming critical of people around you or verbally abusive towards people you care about. And you're like, what the heck? You've taken on these traits of the narcissist. So that's kind of part of like a narcissist being made, because to the person who's being abused by you, by the way, taking the verbal abuse, they're going to feel like you're a narcissist, right? Because you're behaving like a narcissist. Well, here's the good news. If a narcissist takes on the traits, or a person who was made into a narcissist takes on the traits of a narcissist, they can untake the traits of the narcissist. It can be undone. So that's the good news. If you have come out of a relationship and you feel like you're the narcissist, you feel like, oh my gosh, I am behaving like the abuser that my ex was, I'm verbally abusive, maybe you're not physically abusive, but you're critical, you're angry, you're resentful, towards people who actually love you, the good news is, here's the difference between you and a real narcissist. This is not the person you want to be. That's it. You feel regret when you do the bad things, right? You feel regret when you behave like a narcissist. You don't feel entitled. And then further entitled. You may start to, at the beginning, feel entitled, like, well, they egged me on. They did this, and that's why I blew up. And they said that, and that's why I got angry. You might do a little bit of that entitlement stuff because you learned it from the narcissist. But a few hours later, a day later, you might start to feel regret. You will feel guilt. You'll feel bad for the person you hurt. And you'll know, like, wow, they didn't really deserve how angry I got. I blew up. Yeah, they did something that made me mad, but I should not have crossed this line, right? There's a line. Narcissists do not think of a line. They don't see the line. We see the line. So the good news, again, is that if you are seeing a line, if you're feeling guilt and you can accept, or you have said to yourself, this is not who I want to be, that's good, because you can change that. You have to go to therapy or read some books or just self-reflect, start doing things for yourself. And the first thing I said in this video was forgive yourself. Part of why narcissists that are made continue to be narcissists is because they never forgive themselves. And they take out, so it's projection. What they end up doing is they project the pain that they're feeling towards themselves, the anger they feel towards themselves, the guilt they feel, they project it onto other people, and that's why they become abusive. Now, that's taking on the trait of a narcissist. You can unlearn that. You can unlearn projection. You can unlearn criticalness. You can unlearn resentment. You can unlearn abuse, verbal abuse, physical abuse, because you can redirect, right? If you have the proper therapy, if you get the proper help, the people who are trained, even, and some people who are not trained, classically trained, that is, in the classroom, that doesn't mean classically, but if they're not trained in a classroom, they're not academically trained, they could still, through experience, you've met good people, you've met wise people, they can still point you in the right direction and help you. But you have to be willing to open up, to accept their comments, their suggestions, their advice, their wisdom. Remember to humble yourself and see, remind yourself, this is not the person I want to be. And if this is not the person I want to be, then I want to seek help to not be this way. I want to be open to the help that will change this direction I am in. Okay, you guys, Man, I have talked a lot and I did not get to see your comments. So I do want to see here. Jihad says, yes, big distraction for her so she won't have to annoy us. Yeah. We were talking about how it's actually a blessing when the narcissist is distracted by their success. Let's say they have a new relationship, they have a business that's taking off, they have new friends or whatever, your old friends, they've taken over your old friends, and now you have to find new friends. You might be resentful and hurt by that, but it's a blessing because they're no longer targeting you, right? If they're distracted by these other things and other people, they're no longer going to be targeting and focused on you. So if they're not focused on you, you don't have to be scared anymore. They're no longer a danger to you. If they take their eyes off of you, then you'll just be on their periphery, and and if you're not targeted by them, you won't have to worry so much about them being a danger to you. And if you go completely no contact with them, oh, hey you guys, so I'm sorry if I lost you there, got disconnected. So let me see you guys. Hey, Measure Twice, good to see you. Okay, I'm going to go back and see what you guys have been saying. Catch up here a little bit. Oh, see Thomas, good to see you. Measure Twice. Okay, I'm going back and back. Sorry, you guys. It's gonna Kingdom Women, good to see you. All right, boy, I missed a lot. Rachel, good to see you, honey. All right, let me see. Oh, John, good to see you. Let me see. I'm so sorry. Wow. All right. Oh, here we go. Here we go. I'm almost where I had left off, which was way early on. So I do want to catch this. Kingdom. Okay. John says, you cannot make this stuff up. She texted me on Tuesday and said, I miss you. See, John, she is hoovering you back because remember we talked about this? Men and women both do this, monkey branching, where they set up their new supply or their old supply, reconnect with an old supply before they will leave their current supply. Don't be that person. I'm telling you, just block her, or yeah, I would just suggest that, block her. Kingdom Women says, they will use, abuse, devalue, and discard you, period. They don't ever stay with a victim. Cowards who can't love you only use you. Yeah. Jihad says, John, do you have kids with her? I don't believe he does. C. Thomas says, hello. So good to see you. Kingdom Women says, John, 1 minute they hate you, then in a few hours they love and can't live without you. All BS, just a lie. It is a lie because they are using you. That's absolutely true. They are in a spot now where they need their old supply because they're unable to attract new supply, possibly, right? And they don't like the supply that they're with. They realize that the supply that they're with is no longer giving them what they want. Okay. New Earth, good to see you. Oh, I think I saw you earlier, but welcome again. Says, yes, but the old guy is a narc too. Okay, this was not kindness. This was a bartering agreement. So narc might have a case, although there's no written agreement. No, I don't think the old guy is a narcissist. The old guy is just an old guy. And he probably has his problems and stuff like that. But, oh, wait, unless you know this person. I don't know if you know this person, but no, the old guy, it's his property. He's not like well off or anything like that. He's, living paycheck to paycheck as well, but he's willing to extend to this person, his mother-in-law house, whatever, that other structure on his property for her to live on. So he's not like being a lascivious old man or anything like that, right? He's not after her physically. He knew her for multiple years. They run in the same social circles, or have. And so he thought he was just being nice. And there was a time when even my friends were taken with her, right? Even my friends thought that she was okay and that she might be, anyway, they just thought she was a decent person. But they saw along the way that she wasn't decent. One of them, in fact, saw up close and personal that she wasn't decent because he became one of her targets at one point, a person that she had used. So Rachel, good to see you, says, it was a loaded gun that caused me to leave my, wow, narc husband. He is still being encouraged by his Christian friends that what he did was not that bad. I know, right? What he had done was not that bad. I mean, I understand helping people to forgive themselves, and maybe that's what they're trying to do, is get him to, I don't even think that's the case either, because he's manipulating them to try to get them to think that he's feeling guilt or not resentful. He feels remorse, right? And so they're like, oh, but what you did, you know what? God can forgive you. And yes, God can forgive you. But what you did was really bad, and you need to fix this about yourself. Like, don't ever let yourself get to that point again. Oh my gosh, somebody was telling me how they appreciated, not that I try to be in people's face or anything like that, but I'm somewhat blunt sometimes. I try not to be painfully blunt, like to hurt people, but I will tell people what's what. Okay. I guess it was a viewer who said, she said, thank you for being in my face. I don't think I was like totally in her face, but in some of my videos, I'm very blunt. I'm like, hey, this is why you're doing what you're doing. Stop doing it. And I think that narcissists would benefit from people being blunt with them like that. Like, I'm not going to commiserate with you. I'm not going to sympathize with how you were driven to use a loaded gun on threaten somebody with a loaded gun. No, I'm not going to sympathize with that. I'm going to tell you, get rid of your gun. Now, if you were driven to that point where you felt you had to use this to threaten somebody, then you are not safe with a gun. You need to get rid of it, because don't get to the point where you're driven to use it, where you're so angry and out of control that it's not that hard to pull that trigger when you bring it out at the wrong time. I don't even want to. I would have been more blunt with him. Rachel says, just read that. Kingdom says, their mental disorder is dangerous. Some narcs are well-known killers. Yep. Sick people in need of God. Demons have taken over their bodies. Eye off the tiger. Good to see you. Good afternoon. Newer says, old narky can countersue for any repairs without written consent as well. So let the narcs screw each other now. Yeah, I don't know that he has the money to get a lawyer. See, that's the other thing you don't realize, is that lawyers don't just do this pro bono. It's not easy to find a lawyer who does things pro bono. We hear a lot of that from time to time, but it doesn't, you usually have to, when you countersuit, you have to pay. He doesn't have that kind of money, like I was saying. C. Thomas says, agree, Kingdom, once you're no longer of use to them, you're discarded, and they will hoover when something else is needed of you. Yep. New Earth, I don't quite agree with you about this one, says John. People can and do miss each other. Be nice. No, you know what? That's the thing that gets us into trouble with narcissists, is that we feel obligated, and we give them the benefit of the doubt, no matter how many times they abused or hurt or used and demolished us and abandoned us and discarded us. We actually don't have to be nice. And actually being nice doesn't mean we're obligated to answer them. We're obligated to let them back in our lives. We're obligated. So maybe your be nice is, no, I don't know. I think that if he just goes no contact, that's nice. In that the narcissist is not entitled to John being pleasant with her, and I do encourage people to be pleasant if they run into the narcissist. Like if he runs into her in the street or whatever, be pleasant, be nice. But when she's reaching out and trying to hoover, he's not obligated to answer her text. He can block her, and in fact, it's safer if you do that. So Kingdom says, watch and see what Chris Watts did on YouTube. Killed his entire family, pregnant wife and 2 girls, just to be with his mistress. Yeah, and you know what? The mistress didn't even want him to move in with her. So that's why in my videos I talk about this other thing that happens, and it doesn't just happen to narcissists, by the way. It could happen to normal people. Is when your hormones take over, people. And it doesn't always happen, okay? Your hormones don't take over in every physical relationship you have. But when you fall into what you think is actually not what you think is infatuation. You think it's love, but it's infatuation. When you fall into infatuation with somebody, you lose your freaking mind. And part of that is because of your hormones taking over your brain. The love hormone, they say, the trust hormone, the bonding hormone takes over your mind, and you bond with that person to the point where you feel. That's why a lot of times narcissists will say, "You're my soulmate." And you feel like you're their soulmate because you've bonded with them. That hormone was released when you were with them, the security, safe, love, bonding hormone. Anyway, you guys, you can watch my video on Chris Watts and learn more about that. Kingdom says, yes, they go back and forth between victims. Whomever has more gets the narc. You have money, they stay. They hoover those in their past without blinking an eye. Yeah, exactly. So let me see what else. New Earth says, set healthy boundaries and don't fall in their energy, okay, and material trap, and you'll be fine. Be smart and be nice and watch them scatter. I do appreciate you saying that, New Earth. I appreciate you taking the high road, wanting to be nice and spread kindness. And I agree with that. Spread kindness, be nice, but don't feel obligated, right? Don't feel obligated. And the healthy boundaries will help you with that. You don't have to answer them, really. If you've told them to stop calling you, but they keep calling you, you don't have to answer them. When you tell them, look, it's over, I need to move on, it's okay to not be in contact with them anymore. You don't have to be mean, right? Noor says, yeah, they are not human. Whatever they are malignantly selfish and toxic. Okay. And being nice, I understand what you're going for now, New Earth, is so that you don't regret being an awful person, right? You don't want to go down to their level and shout horrible, nasty, mean, verbal abusive stuff at them. You don't want to do that, because then you become like them. New York says, watch out with TV crime because they are mostly fake or sensationalized. If you do an inmate check, none of them are incarcerated. Madoff with money, made up story. I don't know that Madoff made up this story, but Measure Twice says, hello from humid Houston, Texas. Well, hello to Texas. Measure Twice says, which came first, the chicken or the egg? It's the dilemma of, was the narcissist born or made? Bottom line, could be both. More important is spitting narcissist and getting away. Oh, splitting maybe from the narcissist and getting away from them. Oh, spotting. Okay, spotting the narcissist. C. Thomas says, it's choice after trauma. Narcissists may choose to be that way. Yeah, right? We have all experienced trauma, by the way. For someone to say, yeah, nothing ever traumatizing ever happened to me. Something that's maybe not traumatizing to you could be traumatizing to somebody else, right? You might think like, wow, my parents throwing me a birthday party, how can that be traumatizing? Well, to a person who doesn't like attention, who doesn't like to be put on the spot, that could be very traumatizing to them. So we might be like, whoa, what's their problem? Why are they traumatized by that? Anyway, yeah. But whatever trauma we experience should not make us into an awful, abusive, horrible person. If we become that way, then, and we're not a narcissist, we'll know it. We'll feel it. We'll feel guilt. We'll feel remorse, and we'll want to change. Sunny Clouds, hi, good to see you. She says, they say narcs are made around 2 years old, maybe, I don't know. C. Thomas says, my ex-narc whines about being abandoned and traumatized as a child. Yeah, because they want excuses. I got to do another video about that, by the way. Yeah, it's an excuse for them to continue to be entitled to what they're doing, and I don't agree with it at all. So C. Thomas says, he chose this path, I believe, because others don't become narcissistic. Yeah, right? They do. They choose. They don't realize that, or it's a part of them, like it's already been a part of them, and they act normal and everything in our presence, and generally speaking, I guess. And we think, well, everybody has their little quirks, and we make excuses for them. But really deep inside of them, they just don't connect with people. They really, really don't. And you might think at times you're not connecting with people. That's normal, by the way. We don't just all automatically connect, especially introverts, right? It takes us a while to warm up to a person. It takes us a while to build trust with a person. Measure twice this, like 19 kids. Oh, all the adults' kids are terrific except the oldest boy who has narcissistic traits, as does his father. Not necessarily narcissist per se, but definitely entitlement issues. And it could be, another thing is that love of money, also power, and an abundance of attention does create narcissistic characteristics in people, right? Someone may seem really normal, but then they become famous and suddenly they take on this complete different persona. Yeah. New Earth says narcs say things like smile at everyone, but plot how you're gonna kill them. Ugh, I know, it's horrible. C. Thomas says, I was able to undo the traits from my narc mother and my ex-narc. It's damaging, but luckily can be healed. Yes, exactly. So appreciate you guys. Well, we are out of time. Okay, I do want to read a few more of these comments though. North says, I live with 7 of them. They are not human. Some of us can be jerks. Me too, but narcs are beyond jerks. They are just not human. They say things like, fake it till you make it. Well, I think normal people might do that too, because it's sort of a mantra, sort of like what do they call it, pop culture, right? Sort of part of our culture now. They say mantras like that. Smile, be happy until you feel happiness. And there's, I don't know. Sometimes, yeah, I don't know. I don't really like faking it. Actually, that mantra never really stuck with me. Fake it till you make it. I don't know. I never actually tried it. Measure Twice says, Jihad, my kids see their narc dad every Sunday for 7 years now, post-divorce. They are 15 and 12. Will your kids have access to their narc mom? Kids generally want contact with both parents. Yeah. And it's really important that you don't put down the narc parent. You help them to see things that are not rational. And if you need to expose the lies, right? If the narcissist is telling lies about you, expose that. But don't put down the other parent. Don't tell your kids that the other parent is useless, is psychotic, is a jerk, because what you're telling your kids is half of you comes from this. Half of you comes from this jerk, psychotic, horrible person. And that hurts the child's identity. So be very careful with that part, I want to say. You guys, Jihad, leave her be. She knows you are a good parent, so don't ruin it. Aww. Oh, Jihad says, thank God she lives in another state with another man, and now she has a new baby. So I don't think she will be seeing the kids, and the kids don't ask about her either. Yeah. And no need then, right, to bash her. Just let it be. And if they ask you questions, you can be honest about it. Don't say like she doesn't love them, but say like, the things that, like she doesn't seem to be able to love others, Don't, yeah. Jihad says they are 3 and 4 years old, and the court allows her to call daily through Skype, but I knew eventually she was going to slowly walk away from us completely. Wow, that's sad. Jihad says, yeah, I don't bother her at all or get involved in her life and her new supply. She is usually the one that causes drama, but I always ignore it because I don't want to get sucked back in. Excellent. New Earth says, if you see narc traits in your spouse, decide if they are violent. If they are, drop them and leave now. If you see narc traits in your kids, spend a lot of time with them. Teach them kindness and patience and life skills so they don't have to become predators to make a living. And you have to be, by the way, I got to add to that, and you have to be quite blunt with them. Like, no. And you have to have very strong boundaries with them and consequences, right? You can't just have boundaries without consequences. Otherwise, it's not a boundary. You have to say, no, this is not acceptable in our house. Our house, these are the rules. And when you cross them, this is what will happen. And you have to set, appropriate boundaries and consequences. And if you don't allow them to feel the consequence, you will encourage and enable their narcissistic traits to continue on, because they'll feel like, oh, I got away with it. And all I had to do is say, I'm sorry. And then mom believed me, or dad believed me. And now I can just do what I want anyway. Yeah. So you do have to be careful with that. If you see narcissistic traits in your kids, you have to be stricter actually with them. Not strict like, control every emotion they have, but you have to be aware of who they're friends with, what they're doing. I'm not for helicopter parenting, but with narcissists and those who show that they're not responsible, require extra uh, attention, then you need to give them that attention. You guys, so it's really horrible too that narcissists, even though you give them attention and nurturing and stuff like that, yeah, you got to be careful for yourself too, not to become or share narcissistic traits with them. Don't give into, being a horrible person yourself. Like, don't talk about other people in negative ways. Don't bash people. Don't be critical, because then they're going to think that's quite normal to be that way. So you have to be really on your guard to be an excellent parent, a really good role model for them. So hopefully they can learn some of the, but I don't know, like I said, narcissists, when they grow up, they make these choices. You cannot control that. Well, you guys, I thank you so much for joining me. Many blessings to you. I wish you much health and happiness and joy and healing. Eat healthy. I always have a bowl of fruit here. Not, be careful about how much sugar you take, but eat healthy. Take care of yourself. Get strong. Start taking care of yourself physically. Get fit. Get mentally fit. And you're going to be able to do so much with your life that you had no idea you were capable of. And that's what I wish for you. I wish for you so much success, so much joy, so much love in your future. So blessings to you, and I will talk to you soon.